Ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? Good. So it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome Mr. Anton Mosimann to be our guest speaker at the IRF today. Mr. Anton Mosimann is one of the world's best chefs, businessman, and entrepreneur. He has cooked for the Queen of England, the royal family in general, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Angela Merkel, and so many others that he's going to tell us today. He's a wonderful ambassador to Swiss Education Group. He's a role model for all of us and our students in particular. He has donated his collection to SEG, and we have the pleasure of having the Mosimann collection in our Bouvray campus. So if you have not visited yet, I strongly encourage you to do so. So please give a warm welcome to Mr. Anton Mosimann.
Anja, thank you very much for this wonderful introduction. You're very, very kind, very generous. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here today and see so many of you joining us. So I hope you will enjoy the next 45, 50, 55 minutes, whatever it is, we'll see. Let me just say again, thank you to the Swiss Education Group. It's a great honor to be here. We have many connections together, as we just mentioned. Anja mentioned the actual collection itself, which for me it's a great honor, and we'll see one or two slides later on. Just before I start, we all like compliments in our lives, and I got two such compliments a few months ago. The first one was when I standing in my restaurant welcoming the guests for the evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, bon appetit, have a nice evening. And about 10 minutes into the evening, a group of young people came and said, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anton Mosimann, welcome. Oh, are you still alive? So I really took it as a compliment. The other one was a wedding about 6 months ago. And before the bride left, she said, Anton, come, I must tell you something. It was fantastic. I mean, the ambiance in this beautiful old church and the decoration, the flowers, the service, the wine, the food, excellent. Next time I get married, I come back here again. So what another nice compliment you can have. Also, let me also start that I'm maybe one of the luckiest person in the whole world. I get up every morning, and honestly, I can't wait to go to work. And all that after quite a few years in the profession. So I'm very lucky. It all started with my parents. They had a restaurant close by BLBN, where I learned how to get a good taste of food, simple food, bistro food, but also went to the market with my father on a Saturday to choose the best possible produce on the day. In those days, everything was organic, of course. So at a very early age, I got to know quite a few details about how to purchase ingredients. Very close to our restaurant, there was a prison. And whenever there was a prisoner escaping, they very often came to our restaurant because they knew that my father was looking after them. He gave them good food and good wines. And whenever the police came, he was hiding them in the wine cellar. So I got to know quite a few prisoners in those days. We had no living room. Everything, homework was done in the restaurant. So it's quite an unusual upbringing of a young boy. Then I done my apprenticeship, 2.5 years in those days. 1 day off a week. And every second week, that was also my day off for the school. So there I was, working 12, 14 hours a day, and 1 day off, and every second week, just half a day. But I was determined not to give up. I was extremely lucky to have found a good home for my apprenticeship in that sense. I had 2 chefs. One was a real gentleman, good cook, good connoisseur of fine food, and the other one was just the opposite. The sous chef number 2, he was shouting, he was screaming all the time, and that's when I learned very young, at a very young age, how to do it and how not to do it. And that's a very important point. And especially for our younger people here today in the group, I will give you a few hints in the next few minutes about how to do it and maybe not to do it. Anyway, I then decided to join the Palace Hotel in Villars, which in those days was one of the best hotels in Switzerland, very close to here. And the head chef was Monsieur Dessibourg, a Valaisan, real connoisseur, loved perfection, very tough. And we had to turn potatoes in those days. Pomme nature, you had to have 7 corners and exactly the same size. He would make one example, and we had to turn 300 potatoes exactly the same. If one was slightly smaller, slightly bigger, we had to chop it up for the staff food. I was 17 and a half, and that's when I made my decision. Wow, I love that kind of perfection. I love that kind of style. And that's really when I made the decision to go for the best only. The best hotels, the best restaurants, the best chefs. In those days, money was not that important because the better the hotels, the better the chefs, the better reputation they had, the less you get paid. But I said, never mind. One day, I will get the money. I'm still waiting for, but hopefully one day it will come back. Then I spent 1 year in Rome. A wonderful experience to work with Italians, to get to know the culture, the food, the products, and of course also the language. Very often on a Sunday, I was invited by some friends, where mother at home cooked for days beforehand, just to impress the young Swiss Anton for lunch. It was a wonderful experience. And then I jumped, came back to Switzerland for a while, hotel school in Lucerne, and then I went to Montreal, where I worked for 2.5 years at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel, one of the biggest hotels at the time, 2,000 bedrooms, more than 1,200 staff. Every year we had a banquet for 3,000 people for the government. Those days, Mr. Trudeau was in charge, his father, from the present president or prime minister. And minestrone was the first course, and all cut by hand. There were no machines in those days. And then roast beef as a main course for 3,000 people, served medium rare. How did we do it? We had 11 slicing machines, 11 chefs. The moment the soup left the kitchen, the chefs were cutting the beef. Went on a silver dish and directly into the room. Guarantee medium rare. It was an extremely well-organized kitchen. For me, a fantastic experience. In the kitchen, 120 cooks and 26 nationalities from all over the world. I was promoted very quickly to number 2 assistant chef. Too early, too quickly. Had a wonderful apartment, swimming pool, sauna. I mean, in other words, a good life. But I said, I can't live like this. I'm 21, I have to go back to Europe, back to Switzerland. I want to learn more about the profession. And that's when I went back 5 steps. And that's again a message to our young people here. Don't worry. Sometimes you get promoted very quickly, but you missed something on the way. Just go back. Very important message. Anyway, I went back 5 steps, far less money, no more swimming pool, no more sauna. I started here next door at the Palace Hotel in Montreux as a chef tourneur. Good decision. Monsieur Wild, who is still with us at the moment, he is 87 years of age. He was the head chef and a fanatic. He just loved good food. He was a good motivator, and he took us like his children. He was his father, our father. And he said, Anton, you must go to St. Moritz. You must go to work at the Palace Hotel. Because in those days, you didn't apply anywhere. The chefs just told you where to go. And then you were listening and said, yes, of course, I'm going. Anyway, went to St. Moritz. And there, I saw Monsieur de France, 82 years of age. He ordered 6 new chef's jackets for the season. So no mean of retiring at all, because he still loved his job. Every morning or every midday at precise 12 o'clock, the maître d' came down with a bottle of Dom Pérignon to the chef's office. 5 minutes later, the au pair girl arrived as well. Monsieur Defre was closing the curtains, and they enjoyed a good bottle of champagne every single day. I think that kept him alive for many, many years to come. Anyway, Monsieur de France also cooked in London with the Grandmaster Escoffier. Escoffier was the chef. Monsieur de France was the commis de cuisine, almost an apprentice. And that's how we cooked exactly the same way in St. Moritz. We reduced cream by 10 to 1. 10 liter went down to 1 liter, and then with fresh butter or foie gras, you made your basic sauces. Just incredible. New Year's Eve, we served caviar as a first course. Caviar on a plate, caviar on the table, on the floor, everywhere you had caviar. That was our New Year's Eve experience. And then, 1 year, Japan. Now just imagine, cream, butter in many quantities, and then off to Japan, no more cream, no more butter. Now who is right and who is wrong? Questions I asked myself at the time. Today we all accept that. Wherever you go around the world, there's something new, something different. If you want to learn, you can learn all the time. And for me, there was a learning curve. It was just such a pleasure to work with the Japanese. I was the head chef at the Swiss Pavilion, Expo 70, 26 Japanese chefs, 12 European chefs, and the competition was just fantastic. Whenever 2 Japanese are chopping parsley, there's automatically who's quicker, who's better. I mean, all the time. For me, it was a great experience to be part of that team. The fish came in alive. Everything had to be top fresh. Again, head chef, too young, I felt. I want to go back, want to learn more about cooking, training, and also I want to do my master diploma. So the Hilton Tokyo offered me a job as executive chef. I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm too young, I can't do that. I want to go and learn more. So went back to Switzerland with a rucksack full of experience, plus something else. On the 1st of February 1970, I entered the plane, Zurich Airport, Swiss Air, Zurich to Tokyo, and came on the plane and my seat was taken. I said, that's strange. I booked A1, window seat, and there was a young lady sitting, and I was very nervous. I said, my God, what do I do? Walking up and down the plane, and eventually I said, excuse me, madam, I think you're on the wrong seat. And she said, no, read the newspaper. I said, madam, my boarding pass says A1 window. I said, yeah, but I like window seats. Why don't you sit next to me? And they more or less shut up. Not quite like this, but almost. And that's my wife for 44 years, so there you are. And she still has window seats. Anyway, too young, so I came back to Switzerland, spent almost a year at the Palace Hotel in Lausanne as a chef de partie. Then I spent 4 seasons at the Palace Hotel in Lucerne with the Grandmaster Otto Schlegel. Otto Schlegel used to be the chef for 25 years in Gstaad at the Palace in the winter and 25 summer seasons in Lucerne. He was a real master as a chef and also as a human being. We were 26 chefs at the Palace in Lucerne. There was just one A4 sheet of paper where he put all the names on it. And after 4 weeks, everybody had a day off except me. So I said, what do I do? So I asked my chef de partie, senior, I said, Helmut, I haven't had a day off for 4 weeks and everybody else, has a good time. He said, oh, I don't know, let's go and see the chef. I said, I can't go in and just knock at the door and say, listen, I haven't had a day off. No, that's okay. Go and ask him the soup for tomorrow, the daily soup for tomorrow. So I went there and said, Mr. Schlegel, excuse me, how do you feel the soup should look tomorrow lunchtime? So he said, red, whatever, green. Oh, who are you? I said, oh, my name is Anton Mosimann. Looked on his list, he said, oh, have a day off tomorrow. So he richly forgot me. Also, in those days, we cooked everything à la minute. Stroganoff, MSC de veau, whatever we had to cook, rösti, à la minute. And everything, before it left the kitchen, Mr. Schlegel was tasting it. Always. His finger. And we knew already he loved not salty food, but he loved just being on the top, the maximum. So I went to him one day and said, Mr. Schlegel, please taste the stroganoff. He said, a bit more salt. And I knew it was just enough. So I took the salt, put it next to the casserole on the stove, went back again. He said, now it's perfect. So those are the lovely stories. Huh? Good. During that time at the Palace Hotel in Lucerne, I won my first gold medal, the Top Door. And because of that gold medal, I'm standing here today. Again, our youngsters, don't be afraid. Go for it. Go for competitions. Measure yourself with other people. You can never do enough as a young person. That medal has grown now with 49 others. So if you ever go to the museum, you see 50 gold medals on display, just because of this one here. Not only that, the maximum points for every 6 finalists could get were 40 points, 5 by 8. I got 42 points because of my written paperwork. They were so impressed. And it just shows you again, if you make a special effort, then you have a very good chance to go forward very quickly. Anyway, thanks to this competition. I mentioned I'm standing here, but also the next step is then London. But before I went to London, I spent also 4 seasons in St. Moritz at the Kulm Hotel. Wonderful chef called Monsieur Gilgan. Monsieur Gilgan was a good friend, or our staff cook was a good friend with Mr. Gilgan. Gemma, really Italian, lovely lady, cooked like a world champion just for the staff. Lots of cream, lots of butter, lots of the best things only. She could do whatever she would do. The chef would support her. I was in charge of restaurateur, à la carte, For the guests who didn't like the food in the restaurant, they were then asking for something else, and that was the chef for that. And every day he made my sauces for hours. They're demi-glace, skimming and beautiful. I mean, every 5 minutes I would really almost make love to that sauce. And in the mornings, very often, the sauce was gone, disappeared. I said, how does it happen? I left the kitchen last night at 12 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, the sauce is gone, or half is gone. So, looked around, and then eventually, many days later, I saw Gemma cooking a stew, rabbit stew, and of course a very beautiful brown sauce, where the rabbit was quite happy too in the sauce. So I said, Gemma, be honest, no, niente. Anyway, I couldn't go to the chef because the chef would support her, so I had to be clever. So the same day, I then took the sauce at 12 o'clock at night in a pot into my room, into my bedroom. Because the bedroom open the window was about 5-6 degrees below anyway, so most chefs would sleep with their girlfriends, and I slept with the sauce all night long. But anyway, the following day, Gemma had to admit that, obviously, she smiled and was quite happy. Well, then, most head chefs have one weakness, and I mean weakness. That is the pastry. Because if you're a head chef, you don't worry about the pastry because you have a pastry chef who is in charge, whatever. I said, no, I can't do that. I made my master diploma with 25, the youngest ever in Switzerland. So I went back again, 5-6 steps, as a commis pâtissier at the Palace Hotel in Gstaad. For no money, just to learn. Because I wanted to be an example again to my kitchen brigade. Also, I've done a stage with Michel Gerard, 4 3-star restaurants in France, Roger Verchet, Paul Bocuse, who sadly just passed away a few weeks ago, and the Troisgros brothers. They all had 3 stars, and I trained with them, worked with them for a while. Also at the Brussels, the Villa Lorraine. The Villa Lorraine was the first restaurant outside France with 3 stars Michelin. And Monsieur Lurgain, the head chef, he was about that size. His cigars were that size. And he was smoking all day long in the kitchen. But a wonderful chef, a great, great gentleman. Then I spent time in Stockholm at the Grand Hotel. Again, most young chefs would go to Stockholm because they knew in the cold kitchen, in the garde-manger, there would be all ladies, young ladies cooking the fish. I went to see Stockholm, I want to see the Grand Hotel, not because of the ladies, but because of the herrings. I loved herrings and I loved Graflachs, etc. So I went there for a few months just to learn about these wonderful ingredients and products. Then, a big jump. Dorchester Hotel in London, we're looking for a head chef. There was one chef there, Monsieur Käufeler, who was 42 years in the kitchen. And he called somebody in Zurich. He said, I'm looking for a successor. Do you know anybody? Mr. Fuhrer said, yeah. Anton Mosimann, we met him a few months ago. Maybe you should call him. Anyway, long story. I got a job after a few interviews because I had so many questions. And there I was, had 132 chefs in front of me, 132. And each one asked, why you and not me? I've been here 25 years. I've been here 35 years. You're 28 years of age. How about that? I got a son who is a year older than you are. I mean, I got the message. Also, I lost my hair in that time as well. So, anyway, in those days, all the Grand Hotels in London had more or less the same menus for functions. The first course was a mousse of smoked salmon, then a saddle of lamb, and a dessert. The mousse of smoked salmon was made early morning with lots of gelatin, service of 10 on a plate, on a glass plate. The saddle of lamb was roasted at 6:30 in the morning, came out at 8 o'clock, was cooling off on a plate, on a hot plate, wrapped up in aluminium foil, put in a hot plate until 8 o'clock at night. And then it was served. Very unhappy looking meat. The first night I was there, a banquet for 200 people. The first course went, all the waiters went up the stairs. One mate had an accident, fell down the stair, broke his leg. The glass dish fell on the floor in hundreds of pieces. And the mousse of smoked salmon was bouncing up and down for 10 minutes, full of gelatin, 10 minutes. Main course gone, and then came the manager of the banquet, said, after about 20 minutes, after 10 minutes, said, Chef, I got a problem, a big problem. What's the problem? I got just one vegetarian. My God, 7 chefs running around to find a solution, to find a vegetarian dish. In those days, nut cutlet, famous. 95% of mashed potatoes, shaped in a nut, and then breaded with chopped nuts, put in a deep fryer, not golden brown, but almost black, put on a plate, bit of ketchup, a piece of parsley, and then the waiter will come. Here you are. Never come back again. That was the message. Anyway, one vegetarian. During my time at the Dorchester, we had Her Majesty the Queen Mother, who came quite a lot to eat, and she loved my food because it was fresh, it was different, beautifully cooked, nicely presented, and whenever she went back to her home, St. Clarence House, she asked her chef to write to me for the recipes. She was so excited about the food. And so the chef always wrote to me and said, "Yeah, Anton, please keep it simple. I'm by myself. You have 130 chefs, so you can do lots of things which I can't do because I'm a single chef in the kitchen." But we had a good understanding. Then very often the Queen, Prince Charles, and Princess Diana, when her father had an operation, he was recovering at the Dorchester, and she came to my office 2-3 times a week. He said, "Anton, what can we cook tonight for my father?" So I got to know her quite well. Then lots of personalities, Muhammad Ali, Roger Moore, and Liz Taylor. Liz Taylor came back one night after a night club experience, and my phone rang at home at midnight, and the concierge was on the phone, said, Chef, I got somebody here who's hungry. I said, okay. Yeah, she likes roast beef. I said, roast beef at 12:15? Yes. She said, tomorrow for lunch? No, now. At that moment he handed the receiver to Liz, and Liz said, Anton, it's Liz here, Liz Taylor. I said, good evening, good morning, how are you? Very well, but would it be possible? So I went out of bed, drove to the Dorchester, cooked roast beef and mashed potatoes, that was her favorite. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, I wheeled in this wonderful food into her suite, where she had dinner with a very nice young man. I had a phone call from Mrs. Thatcher many years ago. She said, Anton, I got Monsieur Mitterrand coming from France for dinner, and I don't think my chefs are up to standard to cook for him. Would you like to come and cook dinner? I said, Madam, of course, it's great pleasure. Yeah, but he likes steak de veau with fresh chanterelles. Madam, no problems. Anyway, cooked the meal, everything went very well. And about 2 years later, we were invited to a party with Sir and Lady Schulte and Sir George, and there was Mrs. Thatcher. And she came towards us, Anton, wow, that was a wonderful meal you cooked for me a few years ago, but very expensive. So typical Mrs. Thatcher, huh? She didn't miss a trick. Since then, Mrs. Thatcher, I've been cooking for John Major, Gordon Brown, Tony Blair, and also David Cameron. So most state banquets of the last 30 years I've been lucky to cook at number 10 Downing Street. Also a nice experience for Mr. Chirac. When he came out of the meeting, he said, oh, chef, he said, oh, meeting was not very good, but the food was excellent, so well done. Mrs. Sarkozy, I was presented to the president and Mrs. Sarkozy, and she said, oh, Anton, she said, the lemon tart was, the best ever. And she gave me a kiss. I mean, what else do you want in life? So there you are. Those are the number 10 experiences. 81, I was able to write my first book, Cuisine à la carte. It was a dream when I was apprentice. I said one day, I don't know why, but I said one day I would love to write a book, and it happened in 81. 84, I got a challenge from BBC. We were selected as one of the best restaurants in the world, 18 best restaurants, and all the chefs came from all over the world to celebrate at the Dorchester. So, Monsieur Girardet from Switzerland, Witzigmann from Germany, some Japanese, all the French chefs from the 3-star restaurants joined us. And the producer said, Anton, quite easy, all the chefs around you, how about taking a challenge? I said, yeah, why not? Without even thinking. And 3 months later, I was on a train to Sheffield, where they selected a family of 7 people, 4 adults and 3 children, for £10 in my pocket. That was my budget. Sunday lunch for 7 people. Challenging. Anyway, went to the market with the kids, with the family, said what you like, what you don't like. So a bit of marketing research. And eventually we went around again, bought some chicken, some mushrooms, some vegetables, not the best quality, but I was going to do a chicken stew, so it didn't really matter, and cabbage. Cabbage. I cooked mine in front of Margaret, who was the lady of the house, for 4 minutes. Nice and green, full of flavor, full of vitamins, everything else. And Mark looked at me and said, Anton, wow, I cooked mine for 4 hours. The same cabbage. But in those days, the longer you cook it, the better it will be. I mean, the whole street smelled of cabbage. Then was bread and butter pudding as a dessert. I recreated my bread and butter pudding many years ago. And for me, it was just, when I presented it to the table, I said, either they say, Anton, listen, just go back to London, because my mother and my father, they cook much better desserts than you ever think of doing it. Or they say, wow, well done. Luckily, they said, wow, well done. And as a result, we had 65,000 people who wrote in for the recipes. Anton's bread and butter pudding. Every taxi in London, wherever I took a taxi, I enjoyed your bread and butter pudding. Thank you for the recipe. I mean, it's just amazing breakthrough in those days. No computers, everything was done by hand. In 88, I got the 2nd star, Michelin. It was the first hotel restaurant outside France with 2 stars. In those days, you had to wait at least 2 years to get the 1st star, and then another 2 years to get the 2nd star. Today, you get one in 6 months. So things have changed. It was very, very tough to get a star or 2, especially in a hotel restaurant. Anyway, after 13 years at the Dorchester, very happy, very successful years, 5 owners, 10 general managers, some the best, some the opposite, 600 people on the waiting list. I asked myself, what's next? I'm 39. Another 25 years at the Dorchester, maybe. I had offers from all over the world. Hong Kong, Tokyo, 2 very exciting offers from New York, Switzerland, Singapore. I said, no. I love London. London loves me because of my guests and the food. Why don't we stay in London? And by pure coincidence, I found an old church being converted into a restaurant called the Belfry. We were invited for dinner, my wife and myself. On the way back, I said, wow, I'm going to buy this place. And she said, what? With what? I said, I don't know, but I want to buy it. Anyway, long story. A few months later, we signed a contract. And in those days, we had 3 private rooms. I then converted it. I had a Gucci, had a Tiffany room, and a Wedgwood room, which was all, they were all sponsored by different companies and paid for. Again, people in the back maybe listen to that, try to get sponsorship, try to have support from other people. As long as you produce something, you find a USP, the unique selling proposition, then you have a very good chance that people will be part of you. Today we have the Davidoff room, we have Lalique, we got the Bentley room, Parmigiani Fleurier, Garrard, and the Montblanc room, just for 2 people. Again, all sponsored by different companies. Somehow I found a corner in the house and we done a private dining room. The Montblanc, perfect, just for 2 celebrations, birthdays, proposals, weddings, discussion, whatever, divorces, everything happens in that room. So it's ideal just for 2 people. Shortly after, I met Prince Charles in more details. We had a discussion about a dinner in Prague for the Prague Heritage Fund, where he and President Howell got together and invited all the head of states of Europe. And I was the lucky one to be in the kitchen, organizing the whole 4 days with a lot of chefs from London, mainly ex-Dutch chefs, the friends who came, and we had a wonderful 4 days together. So Sir George Sholti was conducting, Dame Kiri Kanava was singing, and Anton was cooking. Then Prince Charles for his 50th birthday party at Windsor Castle. And of course, one of the very much the highlights was I was the very lucky one to cook the wedding for Prince William and Kate. So in other words, I've been cooking 4-generation royal family and 6 prime ministers at number 10 Downing Street. A couple of years ago, I had the honor to cook for 150 people at Buckingham Palace, where 21 kings and queens were invited for dinner. A few years ago, a dinner in Washington, D.C. for 80 people, for 80 people, with 3 presidents. And afterwards, I've presented to Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, and George Bush Sr. And we had 2 desserts. One was lemon tart, and one was bread and butter pudding. And Jimmy Carter said to me, Anton, wow, I really loved that lemon tart. But my wife, Rosalind, she loved the bread and butter pudding. Could I please have a doggy bag? So there you are. A doggy bag for Jimmy Carter. Yeah, then 88, I opened the party outside catering, which is still going very strong now. That was also an arm of Mosimann's. The collection was quickly mentioned. I'm extremely grateful and very, very honored to have my own museum, thanks to the Swiss Education Group. Well done, everybody. You know better than I do, I'm sure. Most people who get a museum been in heaven for 20, 30 years, forgotten, say, oh my God, we forgot her, we must do something about, or we forgot him and whatever, and then they do museum. I was the very lucky one to cut the ribbon myself, with lots of effort, lots of money spent, and I guess it's the biggest cookery museum in the world. There's nothing nicer, nothing more beautifully designed. And I have seen many, many museums about gastronomy. So please, if you have a chance, go and have a look. So I feel very proud and very honored. Then we all have hobbies. My hobby is car rallies. Luckily, my wife, as she insists on window seats, it's quite easy. So she's the co-pilot. And we've done a crazy rally 10 years ago from Peking to Paris, 9 weeks. 9 weeks in the Gobi Desert, getting lost. In Siberia, sleeping everywhere, in yurts, or Mongolian yurts, Siberia in sanatoriums. We just put everything. And sometimes we just had to sleep in the sand because we got lost so many times. There was no anything else except stay put and wait for the morning to arrive. Good. I think we're on time. Now, just a few quotes. A few quotes the way I handle my staff. By the way, Dorchester, one thing, I went around every morning, shaked hands with all my staff, because I had to bring them on my side. They were all against this young Swiss guy. So I went around, morning Henry, morning John, how are you? Looked people in the eyes. And if somebody didn't look back, said, come on, what is wrong? Let's have a coffee in the office, let's talk about it. I drank many gallons of coffees in those days. But this is now just a few slides where, yes, I've seen it before. We all seen it before, but sometimes it's nice to just, oh, yes, of course, what else can we do? Now, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Nothing new, but it's very important, especially for the young people. You go for an interview, you go for a discussion, whatever, and that's that first impression. I have my red socks, so there you are. I can't go wrong with that. Anyway, you look at him, the customer is number one. We all know it, we all seen it, we all been taught about it. Let me just tell you, last week we had an experience in one of the hotels. I was cooking in Cloisters for the heroes, the guys who came back from Afghanistan war, as a charity. And there was one person there who just couldn't care about the guest number one. It was difficult. It was coming in the morning. It was the charge of breakfast. You could see he didn't enjoy what he was doing. So we were not number one at all in that sense, which is very sad. Little things count big with customers too. Just little things. We have little stools for the lady handbags. The lady handbags. They never know where to put a handbag. It's difficult sometimes, no? But a little stool comes and, oh my God, that's nice. And you can see it, you can feel it, and it's, if you need something out of it, it's very easy. Little things like this can really count a lot. Are you doing all you can to keep the customer happy? That's another thing. We want them happy. We want them to come back again. Very important message. Exceeding the customer's expectation is a wonderful feeling. I know the airline is very good. I know they do a good job. This was a fantastic trip. It was even better than I expected it. At least that's music in my ears. They come to me and say, oh, I know your risotto is world famous, but my God, it's even better than I thought it was. This is ears, music to my ears. My tastes are simple. Only the best will do. It's not the most expensive thing always, but it's the best. And that's also quite important. Everything simple is beautiful. Everything beautiful is simple. I have a car, an old E-Type Jaguar, This beautiful cigar-shaped car. Wow, so simple. The design, so beautiful. You can't beat it. And lots of people say it is really the best, most beautiful car ever designed. Keep it simple. Our product is people. We all know. But are we treating them the way they should be treated? Are we motivating them the way they should be motivated? Are we accepting them? Like this guy last week in Cloisters. He didn't talk to his staff. He didn't talk to the customer. Just very, very bad experience. He forgot that he has people around him. Another thing, satisfying the customer is a race without a finish. We done it yesterday. We cooked a banquet. Fantastic. Lots of compliments. How about today? How about tomorrow? It's a race without a finish. That's what I mentioned at the beginning. I'm so lucky. I get up in the morning and say, wow, I can't wait to go to work. And this is a positive statement and a good feeling. Clothes is not good enough. If you miss that pool, you had it. You're dead. So let's do it properly the first time. Think about it, plan it, and then jump. Quality is never an accident. Quality is hard work, lots of planning, lots of dedication, lots of training, whatever. It's never an accident, never happens like this. It's easier to avoid mistakes than to correct them. So true. You made a mistake, you sent the wrong letter out, the wrong message, it comes backwards and forwards. Ah, what a headache. Do it right the first time. Cooking, the same thing. Oh, it's too salty, but it's too late. Do it right in the first place. Whatever you do, take pride in doing it well. Same thing. I'm so proud. I want to make the best out of it. And smile with it as well. Yeah, don't cut corners. Same thing here. Just do it properly, plan ahead, and then do it. People forget how fast you did the job, but they remember how well you did it. Just think of this wedding cake, whatever. How many people realize how many hours, how many days you have to produce a wedding cake? They don't necessarily want to know, but they know how good it tasted, how good it looked. That's exactly what it is here. Motivation works wonders. Motivate your staff. Be a good example. I had a question yesterday, how to motivate myself. I'm lucky. I motivate myself because I love what I'm doing, enjoy it, and that's a good example for the young staff. Smiling. And so that's enthusiasm. Go positively. If something goes wrong, fine, let's talk about it, but be positive about it. Don't wait for the ship to come in. Swim out to meet it. Oh, there's a recession, or there's a problem, or there's something somewhere. Oh, we have to wait and see what's happened. No, go out. Look at the wonderful staff here, salespeople who go out and get the people in. You can sit at home and do nothing. Have a cup of tea all day long, and that's it. No, go out and get it worked. Teamwork. We have sometimes problems with communication, stubbornness. This is the way, that's the way it goes, and nothing else. You can be stubborn, like the top one. You go down a bit more, and you're almost there. Then sit down and say, listen, let's talk. Let's find a solution. Let's go to one side first, and then the other side. And everybody's happy. Communication is a two-way street. That's what it is. Talk to each other. Communicate with each other. Everybody needs recognition. Wow, well done. young people who want a competition, you go and you give them whatever, a nice souvenir, maybe a little check or something, and a patch on the back, say, well done. And that motivates not just that person, but also the other staff as well. Don't duck it. Hard work is always in season. That's another one. Nothing comes from nothing. I always say I've been very, very lucky. I don't tell them that I worked 12, 14 hours a day when I was an apprentice, and even my whole life has worked split duty, but why not? I enjoy it. So hard work is always in season. And there's always room on the top, so never give up. You have a goal, you have to go on the top, go for it. There's always space. And here, it's great to be a chef, it's great to be a manager, it's great to be a maître d' or a waiter, whatever, but I feel proud of it. And that's also very important. Tell people more often that you love them. Why not? Just, things have changed a little bit the last few years, but never mind. I have a habit with using my arms in a positive way, the well done, over her shoulder, whatever, and just say, wow, well done. And the great pleasure in life is doing what people say you cannot do. Just if I go back to the Dorchester, every single day, 10 times, you cannot do it. It's impossible. We've done it now like this for 25 years. How can you change it? Wow. I feel great. And of course, here winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. I know timing is there. Listen, can I just say thank you so much for being such a great audience. Quiet, nobody talked, nothing. So thank you so much. And any questions? I think we maybe have time for 1 or 2 questions.
But I think we can take 1 or 2 questions. Somebody ask something?
Any? Yeah. Sorry, can't. Any questions? No?
Yeah, there's a question there.
I've heard of many culinary students and also people that in the kitchen you kind of have to always be loud and swearing as a head chef that people take you seriously. But I think you found probably a different approach to that. What would you respond if people say that? Listen,
thank you for asking that question. I forgot to mention it. When I learned this in apprentice, that one chef was shouting, the other one was not shouting. I never allowed shouting in the kitchen. When I came to London, my God, it was like a circus. I said, guys, you don't have to. No, that's part of my job. It's part of the profession. We all have to shout. I said, no, you don't have to shout. And I ask you to stop it right now. And I stopped it. And in every kitchen I worked for them. Sorry, there's no shouting. A few years ago, I had 2 sous chefs in London, both very good, professionally, and I had to make a choice of one of them to promote. And sadly, one of them who was constantly swearing, when I was in the kitchen, he was, nothing, very quiet. The moment I left, I could hear. So he didn't get a job because of that. Just don't accept it. Don't accept it. By the way, there's not something else I mentioned yesterday briefly. There's lots of allergies nowadays. Mushroom, intolerance, whatever. I have one allergy. That is food waste. I can't stand food waste. In my kitchen, there's nothing wasted. Parsley stalks, chicken winglets, whatever, everything can be used. So that's another thing which I just quickly mentioned. Now, our young people in the training, get that message, please. We really don't need any food waste whatsoever in the kitchen. Sorry. Any other questions? Yeah, there's one more.
Good morning. Thank you for sharing. I believe it should happen to you too in your long experience to have a teamwork, a team in the kitchen that couldn't work with you. I mean, You were there to learn them, to teach them, but they were completely outside of the job. How did you manage it? How did you solve the problem, and how did you reach your final object, your final aim?
Yeah. If I understand you correctly, it's how I can I just the main point.
How do you manage with in a teamwork when people cannot work as you want?
Okay, sorry. Okay, good.
And
Okay.
just one day they want to do their own way.
Okay, good. No, good. That's a good point. Very good point. You know, there were people like this again in the Dorchester. There were interesting story. There were 8 people chefed up in high positions where they'd done everything for the last many years. Cup of coffee in the morning was there, had to be there by the apprentice. If not, there was a big row. And they were not motivated anymore. So I didn't sack anybody. No, I sacked nobody except somebody was stealing or alcohol, whatever. Otherwise, no. I transferred them to different positions. I moved somebody from the cold kitchen into the roast section. Wow. For him, that was a new life. I have to think. I mean, my cup of tea is missing. And this, but I really moved them around very gently, and eventually they were very happy. They were motivated because they had to think again. They had fun in the new position. And that's the way I done it. And very successfully, honestly, very successfully. I found people, they were just so bored, so, this motivated everything. Eventually, they were like flowers. Wow, in bloom. And that's a very good, for me, it was a very good advice.
For me too. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for those inspiring words.
Good, thank you.
Just would like to say one thing. I remember 2 slides. One of the slides is to say congratulations, because I think on behalf of Swiss Education Group, on behalf of all the schools, we need to congratulate Mr. Mosimann for all the presentation.
Thank you.
And the second slide, we love you.
Sweet.
And I think what is important as well, students, teacher, program leader, we love you too. Thank you to be with us. But on behalf of a great ambassador, a great chef, you have as well a great wife. And we'd like to thank your wife as well for all the work she worked for you as well too. Thank you, Madam Mosimann. All the best. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank you very much. All the best. Enjoy the rest of the day. And if you ever in Le Bouveret and I'm there, I'd be happy to show you around, have more discussions. If you ever feel like a cup of coffee or a glass of champagne in London, let me know, please. All the best. Thank you.